Today we are talking about starting your own authority. Before we go into further details, I want to tell you that this is a video that tells you what you should know about starting your authority before you go down those waters. It's not instructional, it's just telling you what you can expect and think about this. Think whether you should do this before you start, because this is not for everyone, and I mean it in a really good way. So I don't mean anything bad. I'm not going to say this is not for you, you're like that. I made so many mistakes, but I learned some things. I opened up my first authority 10 years ago and my second one around 3 years ago. So I've had some experience with everything. And what kind of bothers me is I get these questions from people and I see comments all over the social networks, some uneducated comments, and people are just they're going head in first into trucking. If you buy your own truck and drive for someone, or if you're becoming a company driver, that's much easier. But having your own authority, especially with a semi truck, is much harder, and there is so much paperwork and so many permits that you have to have. It's just crazy. In this video, I will be talking about semi trucks, but most of this will apply even to box trucks, or if you're doing cargo vans, hot shots, anything like that. So let's start right away. I'm gonna first talk about insurance. All right. So before you go into trucking, you should know that there is going to be a lot of down payments, and you're going to have a lot of cash. If you're planning to using credit cards or some kind of a loan, let me stop you right there and tell you that that's really not smart. And I'm not gonna say, like I said, anything bad. I don't want to offend anyone, but the best way to put this is that it's not very smart. We all have done these mistakes, including myself. If you don't have enough cash, you rely on a loan. It's like a backup, and you think you're never going to use it, but pretty soon you are going to be use it because you didn't do your research, you didn't save money. And also another thing is that just know that you're not going to be making any money in first few months. Like as with any business, that's true with whether you want to tell that to yourself, whether you want to admit it or not. Any business that you start, you're not going to be making any money in at least first 6 months. You're thinking you're making money, but you're actually not. You're not making money. It looks nice on the paper, but a few years later, you're gonna realize that you were not supposed to take any money, not give yourself a salary in the first few months. So let's do this. If you're the truck driver and you want to open up your own carrier authority, that's different. You have to. You can afford to pay yourself in the beginning, of course. But I'm talking more like if you're planning to have more trucks and you're going to be sitting in the office and dispatch those trucks, that's different. So for the insurance, just so you know, because I'm assuming that you have never done this, the insurance companies don't know you, they don't trust you. They're probably going to come up with a really high insurance quote. If you find a good agent, and if you can prove that maybe you've had, like I did in my second company, I was able to prove that I've had a company before, and that I know what I'm doing, and that I have experience, then they were able to give me a really good quote, as if I'm not a beginner. But most likely, if you're a beginner, you're just starting, your insurance is going to be a lot of money for a semi truck. For a semi truck, you can expect best case scenario maybe 10,000 a year for insurance for one truck, up to $30,000 a year. And I've seen that, especially with Progressive. If you're thinking about going with Progressive, think twice. Progressive will be one of the few insurances that will work with you, but Progressive may give you a decent quote for your first truck, but they just change their rates without any notice. They're just gonna say, hey, we had a increase in rates, we are adjusting everything to the markets or inflation, whatever they call it, and they just out of blue, they just raise your rates for your trucks. Or if you get a new truck, they're going to say, hey, well, this driver, even though this driver has a good driving record or a great driving record, or they're going to find a reason why they increase the rate. So usually when you have different insurances, they will have same rates for all trucks. That's what I have right now. But some insurances will have different rates for different drivers, for different trucks. So you have to be careful. You have to do your research, and Progressive will do that. They will have different rates for different trucks, and most likely it's gonna just be increasing. And then with my second company, I worked 2 or 3 months like that, and I was like, no, I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna find another insurance company, because as soon as I added my third truck, the rates were just crazy. So you can expect the down payment to be between 20 and 25% for insurance for one truck. And remember, if you're opening up your own authority, you have to have insurance, liability insurance. You don't have to have cargo insurance for FMCSA, but you have to have cargo insurance when you're starting to do loads. So might as well get it together, liability and cargo. They were going to require a down payment of 20 to 25% right away before they even activate your insurance, and FMCSA will not activate your authority without the insurance. So that can be around $6,000 easily for one truck. Just remember that, okay? So you have to have a lot of money for the down payment for insurance, and then they're going to spread it apart most likely into next 9 or 10 months, and the 11th and 12th months, they don't usually charge you anything. They let you gather the money for the next down payment for the renewal. Next is, if you have your own truck here, you must have additional $5,000 to $10,000 in cash on hand when you start driving, or when you have a driver start driving your truck. Why? Because you will have additional expenses. You have to register the truck. That's around $2,000. Well, actually, with the highway tax, it's probably going to be around $2,500 for 1 year for a semi truck. So that's another $2,500 for registration, and you have to buy things, buy straps, buy additives. You have to have some money saved in case something goes wrong with the truck, something breaks down. What are you going to do if you have a big breakdown in the first month and you haven't made any money? So are you going to use your credit card, and then you're going to pay off that credit card in next 2 or 3 years and then pay twice with the interest and all of that? No, that's not smart. Don't do that. Don't think like, hey, I have this credit card, I have a limit of $10,000 to $20,000, I'll be fine. This is just for emergencies. Well, once that emergency comes, you're gonna pay for that, and then it's just gonna go. I'm speaking from experience, okay? So don't do it. Don't do it. If you want to have your own truck, you have to have some cash. Also, I didn't mention this here, lease to purchase, if you want to go with someone. Also, I have videos about that talk about that. That's not smart either, to do lease to purchase from someone. Drug testing policy. Now, this is one of the reasons why I'm even making this video, because I had people reach out to me, and they were saying something, hey, I just got an email from this agency, and this is not even government agency. It's like one of those companies that pretend to be associated with the government. Like their websites are like dot something.com, all right? And then they have these emblems that kind of, like, they're misleading. They want you to think that they're with the government, but they're not. And they charge you their service fees for something like that you could have done yourself, okay, like setting up the clearinghouse and all of that. But drug testing policy is a must. So there are people reaching out to me saying, "Hey, I just know, I just figured it out. Like we have to have a drug testing policy in place, and we have to have clearinghouse program." And like, how do I do that? And I'm thinking, well, are you a dispatcher? Are you dispatching someone else? No, no, no. I'm a dispatcher. Like I work in a company and we have our own trucks, and we just found out that we have to do this. Dude, it's like you have to have that before you start. You can't like operate without that. First, you can get shut down. Second, you can get in so much trouble if something happens, an accident on the road. If DOT doesn't audit on your company, you're going to have to pay a lot of fines. Drug testing policy is the must. So DOT looks at few things when you start. Like when you have that, you have like a year or so when they first check you, and they like it's the safety entrance audit, something like that. They call it, and they do it after your authority has been active for a while, for a few months, and then they will send you. Nowadays they do it online. They ask you for your drug testing policy, contracts, ELD. Things like that, insurance, and then they check everything. And if you're okay, then you can continue working. And if you're not, then they will tell you what you have to change. But drug testing is the most important thing besides insurance. Insurance and drug testing. You have to have that. You cannot operate without it. You can, like, if something happens and one of your drivers, there's an accident, something big happens, like you can get fined and go to jail and all of that. You don't want to do that. And what they do is also, if you have a driver that's driving on the road and you haven't even done the pre-employment testing, or you're not part of random testing program, they will give you fines retroactively for each day that driver was driving on the road without that. So think about that. Don't do that. That's not you. Like if you are if you have your own company and you're running trucks, why are you running without even researching everything and asking and educating yourself and like, this is not for you if you're doing this way. You can't do it. You're a safety hazard for everyone on the road. So you have to have drug testing policy before you start. Before you start, and just Google in your local area where you are right now. Just Google DOT drug testing programs, and then there will be websites that come out, or go to Google Maps, and you can call them and set it up. They know what to do. They're going to tell you. You fill out contracts, set this up, set that up, pay fees. You sign those contracts, and then before you have a driver on the road, before you even put the driver on the insurance, you send the driver to that facility. They do a drug testing, and once you get the negative result from them, then you can dispatch your driver and put him or her in the truck, or even sign paperwork, because you're not supposed to sign. Like when you date the paperwork, like if you have a contract, you're not supposed to even date the contract before the negative test came in, drug test from the driver. Okay, so this is very important. I cannot emphasize this enough. Okay. Same thing with clearinghouse program. It's also about drug testing. This is a relatively new rule from DOT, and they have to they have records of everyone that ever tested positive, and you have to check them before they start working for you. Drivers have to register with the government website, and you also have to register, and then you check each driver before they start driving. And once they okayed, then you can have the driver in the truck. Also, you have to do it every year. All right, you have to recheck every driver every year. It's more complicated than, but it's at the end, like once you figure it out, it's not, like you just pay, it's like few dollars per driver that they check, and it's instantly, like they instantly tell you if the driver is okay or not. So once you get a hold of it, it's relatively easy. But there are so many rules. I don't want to talk about that here, but you must have it. You must have clearinghouse program. If you don't have it, don't stop your trucks right now. And do it, okay? Do it. Cash flow. If using your own cash, you must have at least $20,000 for each truck in your bank account. So if you're planning to run 3 trucks, and if you don't want to use a factoring company, you're using your own cash, you have, for 3 trucks, you should have $60,000 in your account. Yes, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Why? Because if you are not using factoring company, if you're sending these invoices to your customers, shippers, brokers, whoever it is, they're going to wait a month or 2 or more to pay you. And what are you going to do? You're going to run your trucks. You have to pay the drivers or pay yourself when you're driving. You have to pay for the fuel, for the maintenance, for the insurance, for everything, and you're not getting any money. You're going to be driving for a month or 2. You're not going to be getting any money. So you either have to have a factoring company, and they send you money usually like when you complete a load same day or the next day, so you have enough cash to work with. But if you don't want to do that and pay them their fees, then you have to have at least $20,000 for each truck in your account, just so you can cover those expenses until the money, the checks start coming in for the loads that you have completed. If you plan using a factoring company, check the link for factoring, for the discounts, for specials. I work with a factoring company. I recommend them. I have a friend that works there, and he will take care of you. They also have fuel discounts. So fuel discounts are very important. Find a card that has fuel discounts, because you're going to be saving so much money. And the one I'm using from Fleet One has great fuel discounts. Check the description. You must have also ELDs. Electronic logging devices. They have been around for several years now. You must have those before you start, and make sure you go with legit ones, with the ones with the good name, okay? Because you don't want to, because I've been hearing this, FMCSA almost every day shuts down an ELD company, and the owners, like, they're operating from a different country. They're not even here. And what they do is, like, you pay them a fee, and on top of the fee that you're paying usually, like the one I'm using is Motive. I pay $40 per month for each truck. But for these people, like, you pay them additional fee, and they will mess with your logbooks. You just call them and say, hey, just change this and that, and then you can run. Like, that's illegal, and that's totally wrong. You can go to jail for that, okay? Well, I mean, not for that, but like if something big happens and you're doing that, then it's obviously your fault. If you're running glider trucks, those are the trucks that their engines are made before 1999. They are technically not able to run these kind of computers, so they're exempt. Okay, so unless and very few are running glider trucks. I've had them. But unless you're running glider trucks, and most of these trucks on the road right now, like over 90% right now, they have to have ELDs, okay? Don't cheat with ELDs. Like I said, there are companies who do that. They will allow you to do that. And I know there are some drivers and trucking companies who use like double ELDs, like they use two different ones, so they change them and they mess. And if you ask them, like, how can you make so much money in a week? They're like, oh, well, I'm using this and that, and I can drive as much as I can. No, I mean, you can, but if something happens, then you're done. Your career is done. You can go to jail. The company is done. Like, why would you even want to risk that? You want to make more money? Okay, well, back in the days when we had paper logs, it was different. Everyone was cheating. Like, everyone was cheating, and it was just like a public secret, or whatever you want to call it, that everyone was doing that. You just had to be careful enough to hide it, okay? And then even if something big happens, and even if they find out, you're in big trouble, okay? You can go to jail, pay big fines, pay lawyers, you're done. But especially now with ELDs, like why don't do that, okay? Just do everything as you're supposed to do, and like you'll be okay. Also, driver qualification folders, that's a must. I have videos that talk about that here on my channel, about driver qualification folders. But like I said, if you're doing your research before you start your trucking company, you will know about driver qualification folders, you know, what exactly you have to have in them and how you need to operate them. And there is so much more: driver's license, medical cards, applications, paperwork, permits. There's so much more. But this video is just like, you have to be prepared to do this. If you're not, stop and do it. But then there's also a lot more on top of that. This is Ennis, Never Stop Trucking. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys around.